Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway, where teachers can save 5% every day. Download the Safeway app and verify your teacher status for exclusive offers and discounts. Get started at Safeway.com or in the Safeway app.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.
This week's hot weather is a clear reminder that summer, it isn't over yet. But for thousands of kids in Aurora, it kind of is. They headed back to school yesterday. It's at least a week earlier than kids in Colorado Springs, Denver, and Jeffco. Now, while it might feel like a cruel and unusual punishment for the kids, let's be honest, I see you parents probably breathing a sigh of relief. I'm Arlo Pérez Esquivel. Coming up, lawmakers are under scrutiny about a crude chat on Signal about one of their colleagues.
She said she got death threats against her family.
We'll break down what happened and explain the upcoming special session at the Capitol. Then, Denver International Airport wants to go nuclear. Why now? And is it safe?
This allows us to be the masters of our own energy fate.
Plus, birria ramen, pho sole, and more. We've got some mouth-watering ideas to spice up your weekend. It's Thursday, August 7th. Here's the news in Colorado today. A group of Republicans at the State House is facing backlash for unprofessional behavior in a group chat. It is the latest in a string of incidents where lawmakers are accused of behaving inappropriately on the job. We're going to get the scoop from CPR's Benta Birkeland. But first, Benta's going to tell us about some breaking news at the Capitol.
Yes, that's right. The governor just announced that Colorado has put a pause on hiring new employees. He also said lawmakers will be back at the Capitol in Denver in a couple weeks for a special legislative session to try to close a $1 billion budget hole.
$1 billion. We talked about that last week, about the fact that changes in Trump's big tax law necessitate these fiscal cutbacks in the state.
They're looking at a few options, dipping into the state's reserves, changing some business tax policies, and then making about $300 to $500 million in cuts. One thing Polis has asked lawmakers to address beyond that is the fact that if you buy health insurance on the state's marketplace, Connect for Health Colorado, your premiums are set to rise dramatically because federal subsidies are getting cut. Now, this is a federal issue, but as part of this special session, he's asking state lawmakers to try to see if they can bring down that price a little bit.
And is there something else that he wants them to address?
Yes. In addition to all of those budget decisions, lawmakers will consider how to change or potentially delay a law that is set to go into effect to regulate artificial intelligence, AI. This is a first-in-the-nation law. The business community, the tech industry says it's not workable. Consumer advocates want it to stay on track, and it would go into effect in February.
Thanks for that, Benta. You and lawmakers will be at the Capitol starting in 2 weeks to deal with that. Separately, there's the issue of lawmakers' behavior on the job. You've gotten access to messages that the state House Republicans send to each other about a Democratic colleague's appearance and a photo that one took of her without her consent. What's the story?
Yes, so this happened back in April. A first-year lawmaker, Democrat Yara Zokai from Fort Collins, was waiting at the podium to speak on her bill, and this was before a final vote. So the chamber was relatively quiet. Members are supposed to be in their seats. I've reviewed the security footage, and I saw a Republican colleague in the front row take a picture of her. Moments later, he shared it in a chat, a private Signal text message chain with the rest of the Republicans in the chamber. And some of them responded pretty quickly. I've seen screenshots of them making derogatory comments about Zokai's outfit and her appearance, comparing her to a stripper.
And who's the member that took the picture?
It's Republican Ryan Armagost. He's from Berthoud, and he was in the leadership of the State House at the time. He also was the chair of the House Workplace Harassment Committee. This is a committee that meets as needed throughout the year, and they're tasked with investigating and recommending punishments when lawmakers or others are accused of inappropriate behavior. So he took the photo and then shared it with his colleagues.
Wow, so really one of the worst people to do that.
He's definitely someone that I think members feel should be held to a higher standard, being on the workplace committee, being very familiar with the workplace policies for how people should behave when it comes to decorum. I'll note that Armagost is leaving the State House September 1st. He's moving for a job in Arizona, and he said to pursue a personal relationship. But he did tell me he's expected to be back for the special legislative session.
Okay, so he took this photo of her and the other Republicans made inappropriate comments about her appearance. Then what happened?
From there, it got worse for Zokai because those comments were in a private Signal chat, but within an hour of Armagost taking her photo, it made its way to social media. We don't know the person behind that social media account who put it up there. But it led to, Zokai said, hundreds of messages, phone calls. Her office was inundated. She said she got death threats, rape threats, threats against her family. She requested extra security to protect her kids. Zokai is Colorado's first Iranian-American lawmaker. And she said, as a woman of color in the public eye, she is resigned to the fact that she feels she's going to face a certain level of personal criticism. She told me she was initially going to kind of brush the whole thing off, but became alarmed by how it was impacting her family. She has 3 children under the age of 8.
All of this is horrible. What about the Republicans that were involved in the chat?
I reached out to every Republican who was involved in the chat. 2 of the members formally apologized, and they said it wasn't appropriate to make jokes about her appearance. 3 of the members declined to comment. I reached out to Ryan Armagost. He's the lawmaker who took the original photo. He said, I don't have anything to comment on. The House Minority Leader, Rose Puglisi, didn't fully answer why she didn't act on this information earlier, but as of last week, she did remove Armagost from the committee. And Republicans say they've also faced threats. So there's a lot going on with this, and I will say it kind of makes for an even more volatile situation when we all head back to the Capitol in a couple weeks.
And as we mentioned, this is only the most recent incident where lawmakers are allegedly acting inappropriately on the job. So what else has happened?
2 women who are active in Republican politics have accused another Republican, Representative Ron Weinberg, of making sexual comments to them at work events. He denies those allegations, but he did remove his name from contention for a leadership position at the State House. Separately, a Democrat resigned from the state Senate. That was during the last legislative session. She now faces a criminal case. Sonia Hawkes Lewis resigned amid an investigation into how she treated her legislative aides at the Capitol. The criminal charge is related to the Senate's ethics investigation about her actions. But basically, Hawkes Lewis is charged with a felony, accused of submitting a false letter in support of herself.
Benta, this is a noticeable amount of misconduct cases in 1 year. What's going on at the legislature to crack down on these type of scandals?
Well, I'll certainly be following up with this. There's lots of layers to this because certain things happen outside of the Capitol workplace. And so it can be a very complex workspace to deal with, especially because lawmakers are elected by the people. They don't have a boss at the State House. I did ask House Speaker Julie McCluskey about all of this, and she said the legislature is redefining the role of its Office of Workplace Relations, and they're hoping to better address complaints. And she's also asked State House leaders to see if they could do more to rein in conduct on the social media front. Right now, the workplace policy gives them very wide berth on social media, First Amendment. But the speaker said the posts about Zokai were especially disturbing because they all originated from this photo that was taken during House floor work, which she said is a time when lawmakers are meant to be at their most professional.
CPR's public affairs reporter, Benta Berglund, thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
There are all sorts of conspiracy theories about Denver International Airport. We got the Illuminati, we got Lucifer, we got an underground city. But the latest rumor that the airport could house a nuclear reactor is for real. The airport announced yesterday it is spending up to $1.25 million to find out whether it could use nuclear energy to power its operations. Denverite's Paulo Shalceda is here with the latest. Paulo, why is DIA thinking about going nuclear?
Well, the airport is already among the busiest in the world. I think we both know that.
Oh, yes, we do.
And it has a vision to continue its growth. At peak demand, the airport uses about as much energy as a small town.
Whoa.
Think heating and cooling terminals, keeping lights on 24/7. CEO Phil Washington said a small modular reactor will produce all of that power by itself. Here he is at the press conference where they announced it.
This allows us to be the masters of our own energy fate.
And there's extra incentive too. Washington and Mayor Mike Johnston also said an eventual nuclear reactor could attract big tech companies to open energy-intensive data centers or could power future real estate developments. The airport is commissioning a study on whether it's feasible to install a small nuclear power plant.
Now, is this something that has been in the works for a while?
No, it's brand new. Governor Polis passed a new law this year that redefines nuclear energy as a clean energy source, categorizing it alongside renewables like wind, solar, and geothermal. Nuclear energy, despite all the safety concerns, doesn't use fossil fuels. So this new law frees up local grant money for nuclear power plants and would allow those projects to count towards Colorado's clean energy goals.
Okay, but let's talk about practicality. Why not just build a giant solar farm or a bunch of windmills? I mean, it feels like wind is always blowing when my plane is landing.
Well, the airport does already have a 100-acre solar panel farm. You see it as you drive into the terminal, and it generates about 50 megawatts of energy. But Washington said it needs more sustainable, consistent power. He brought up several instances of airports losing power internationally. For an operation as big as DIA, that would have nationwide repercussions. And that's something small modular reactors might be good at, according to him and Johnston.
You brought up the risks before this. You've either seen the show Chernobyl or you know about the accident that happened there. So how do they know something like that won't happen here?
Well, the reactor at Chernobyl and the reactor that they're thinking about building at DIA are inherently different. These are small modular reactors. They're relatively new technology that uses nuclear fission to create heat, which in turn creates electricity. They're far smaller than reactors built in the 20th century, and you can basically daisy chain them together to meet power demands. As in, you can bring a smaller amount online for when power demands are low, say 10 p.m., and then scale those up when you need a lot of electricity.
Okay, but are there any immediate concerns about potentially building a nuclear reactor here?
Yeah, small modular nuclear reactors, like the ones that would be the focus of this feasibility study, still come with a level of risk. This kind of technology has never been deployed in the U.S., let alone at a domestic airport. Like all nuclear reactors, they create radioactive waste that has to be safely managed and stored, and there's still risk of meltdowns. And we can't forget about the cost. Denver's just doing a feasibility study right now, but like all potential nuclear transitions, this could be a lengthy and extremely costly process, even if they can eventually make money off the power they generate.
Denverite's Paulo Shalceda, thank you for your reporting.
Anytime.
You can think of it as a mashup of piñatas and pork buns. Two cultures collide starting tomorrow at Saigon Azteca. The two-day event brings together the Asian and Latino communities of Denver's Westwood neighborhood with music, performances, street food, artisan vendors, and family-friendly activities. Event organizers say it started a few years ago with a question: what do our cultures share in common? Sarai Hernandez is one of the organizers.
You know, we all have, those experiences of being children of immigrants, but that might look a little different for everybody. So I feel like everybody brings their unique taste, whether it has to do with food, the live painting.
According to Damaris Ronkanen, another organizer, the result is an event that pushes beyond cultural scripts and stereotypes.
Often when the events are so focused on one specific cultural identity, it does kind of, follow a script, right? Whereas this event really does allow people to collaborate and fuse their cultures together in their own unique ways.
And this creativity was in full display in years past with some unexpected and delicious mashups, like Fa Sole, where Fa meets Pozole, Birria Ramen, and performances that blend traditional danza mexica with dragon dances. Also happening this weekend, a new immersive theater production comes to Denver. Sweet and Lucky Echo is a reimagining of a 2016 show from the DCPA Off Center. That's the experimental arm of the Denver Center for the Performing Arts, where Charlie Miller is an executive director and curator. He says the original Sweet and Lucky show was a game changer.
Sweet and Lucky in 2016 was a catalytic moment for our artistic community.
But he won't really tell you what this show is about.
Part of what makes immersive theater special is the element of surprise and the ability to really give you something that you didn't expect. And so it's hard in talking about this show because we don't want to give away too much so that we can honor and maintain that element of surprise for so many people. So we don't give away much in the marketing. We won't put too many photos out in the world because part of the magic of it is the unexpected and taking the audience on a journey visually, emotionally, physically that they didn't expect.
What can be said about the show is that it's an exploration. Zach Morris created and directs the show. He says it probes into questions like,
what does it mean to think about collective support, collective memory, and how might we imagine an entire audience almost as the protagonists of a piece?
Both of these events are part of the Colorado Arts Spotlight. Find the full list in our show notes. What's funny is the first time my dad ever tried pho, he just looked at me and said, "Mijo, this is just pozole." Credit for the Sweet and Lucky Echo song you just heard in this episode goes to composer and sound designer Sean Haggerty. Reporting for today's show also came from CPR's Lauren Antonoff Hart and Denverites Kevin Beatty. I'm Arlo Perez Esquivel. This is CPR News.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway. Shop online and get $30 off your first online order when you use code SAVE30 at checkout. Get the same prices, deals, and rewards as in-store. Get started at Safeway.com or the Safeway app.